This is nitric oxide. But this is something else entirely. This is Boost Premium Nitric Oxide. Advanced formula by Tranont, 100% plant-based, powerful performance enhancer. This is next-level performance engineered for those who demand more. Improve sexual health, increase blood flow. Promotes weight loss and gut health, muscle growth. Fat burning, feel it surge through your body, fueling passion, stamina and total control, maximizing your potential. Every dose increases blood flow with precision, sending oxygen and vital nutrients where you need it most. For men, that means stronger, longer-lasting erections. More arousal, more intensity. This is the next generation of nitric oxide. This is Boost. Get your Boost today and get 20% off.
Link is in the description below. All right, man, let's talk about it. You're tuned in to the Uncensored News, where you get news at a rapidly uncensored perspective. Let's jump into Dame Dash here, because we love Dame Dash here on the podcast. Tom's being very critical of Dame Dash, but he blessed us a few years ago with a powerful interview, and we learned a lot in business from Dame Dash. Well, he is now set to lose control of some of his most recognizable creative properties after losing a lawsuit in the amount of $4 million. Now, filmmaker Josh Weber sued him, a few years ago, and for whatever reason, Dame didn't respond, or he just outright just lost this lawsuit, and it was a copyright lawsuit, copyright infringement, and he was in a world of trouble with child support, taxes, lawsuits, to the point where he was going to sell off the Rockefeller shares, but that didn't yield enough money to pay off the rest of his debt. So Dame Dash just greenlit a sale of some of his most notable bodies of work, one including State Property, a 2002 street crime drama that, in my opinion, is a classic. It's a classic in every which way. It's a staple in the hip-hop community. And it was like, really one of his introductions to the quasi big screen. It wasn't the biggest film, but just, it was like Friday. It was just one of those things that, like, it had its historical mark in hip-hop. Those are one of the things that are on an asset block. Some other notable things that are going to be sold off as well to pay this $4 million judgment is the sequel to State Property that was done in 2007. Also, right? This is pretty deep, man. This gets very, very deep. Now, some other things: his Poppington LLC, his Dash production company, is also part of the auction. They're going to be his Honor Up movie, which he boasts heavily about, Too Honorable, and We Went to China. Just some of the things that are going to be auctioned off at this particular sale to try to pay this man back from this default judgment. Default judgment meaning you didn't respond, you didn't answer, you didn't fight. Now, I could guess if he would have fought, he maybe would have lost, but it would have been way lesser than $4 million. When you don't show up, they're going to ask for the maximum amount allowable, and that's what happened in this particular situation. So I'm gonna get to the whole lesson in this, because we learned a lot from Dame. He schooled everybody on business. He schooled us on how to flip and how bosses do this and bosses do that. And a lot of people are clowning Dame right now. But one thing you have to understand is that this is an unfortunate part of doing business. Everybody does not have to go through this. What do they say? They say smart people learn by the mistakes, of other people, right? Smart people learn from the mistakes of other people. So we have to learn from this, what to do, what not to do. That's what we got to do in this situation. So we can easily say, "Oh, I thought you was the boss, Dame. I thought you was this. I thought you was that." He was all that. Unfortunately, he made some mistakes along the way. He made some mistakes in judgment. He made some mistakes in not fighting the lawsuit. And it may be because he didn't have the money. It may be because he was being, stubborn. It could have been a lot of different things. But nevertheless, when you don't answer these things, the court can't hear your side. So they rule in favor of the plaintiff in this situation. So you kind of, and then it's like you feel like, all right, I'm not gonna pay. I'm just gonna hide my assets. You can't do that either, because they are going to drag you to court. That's why we put the video out a couple of weeks ago or so, where they now are going to go for a writ of execution, or they're now going to move to bring him into court or put a contempt order. We've seen the same situation happen to the game. He had the $7 million judgment. He didn't fight it. He didn't show up. He tried to hide his assets with other people. The court's on to that stuff. They're not dumb. They got private investigators. So they said, look, you don't want to pay. You move it around to different LLCs and S corps and whatever, shell companies, whatever you want to call it. But look, you got a house, bro. You got to sell this house to pay off this debt. At least pay a portion off. It's called a writ of execution. So they actually going to go to the judge, ask the judge to move, and then the sheriffs go from there. So that's why I say it's a learning experience. You have to learn how this thing works. What do you do to protect yourself? You make sure that you have insurances in place for defamation, for copyright, for anything. That's why doctors got to carry malpractice, lawyers got to carry malpractice insurance. You have to have things in place to safeguard you just in case something happens. Bill Cosby, a lot of people don't know, a lot of his insurance paid out a lot of his claims that he had. He still lost some money, obviously, but his insurance paid out. So you got to have things to protect you. If you own a business, you got to have insurance in case somebody slip and fall. If it's online, you got to have a certain type. You got to have things to protect. It's no different than having a car or a home. If you get into a car accident tomorrow, you don't have car insurance, somebody dies, somebody gets hurt, you're in a world of you know what. But if you have car insurance, if you have home insurance and your home burns down, then you're covered. This is simply that type of situation where stuff like this happens. And, you got to show up to court. You have to show up to court. But again, it gets very costly. It gets very expensive. And ask me how I know, because I've been through a lot of stuff in business. I've probably been through anything you could imagine in business. I've been through it myself. So I understand what Dame is. That's why I'm not going to, clown him or nothing like that. It's a tough loss. But then again, like 50 Cent was saying, shake back, bro. Nobody really want to see Dame going through this. He will be able to, if you're a real boss, you'll reinvent yourself. You'll shake back. You'll start something else. You'll get something else popping. And I will say one of the bright sides about this, at least you have some assets you can sell off. You can sell some of these things off. You might not pay it all back, but you can sell some of these things to try to pay some of it back. I'm sure Dame Dash doesn't want to do this. I'm sure he doesn't. Because remember, this is his life work. This is stuff that he boasted about. These are things that he talked about as a shove in your face. I'm doing stuff. I got my own movies. I got my own network. I got my own this. I got my own that. He was proud of this. He didn't want to see this stuff go. But it's something that he had to do because of the situation that he's in. The situation that he allowed himself to get into. So all we could do is sit back and say, all right, I'm going to learn from him. I'm not going to do this A, B, C, and D. Because if I do A, B, C, and D, this is going to happen. And that's really all to it. He had a lot of money, way more than any of us ever made. I'm sure he blew a lot of it. I blew a lot of bread. You probably blew a lot of bread. But don't mean we can't make it again. Don't mean we can't shake back. Don't mean we can't bounce back and come back even stronger. So that's where I'm at with the whole situation, man. It's very, very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Do I look at him different? No. I just look at as a man that made some mistakes in business. I mean, a lot of people have filed bankruptcy and went through a lot of different things in business. They just reinvented themselves. And they were smart. It's a learning lesson. Now you know what to do going forward. And this is some of the tough lessons that happen in business. We don't always get to learn these things, right? We don't always get to have the acumen, because you got business acumen. Don't mean you might forget some things. You might make some mistakes along the way. These things to teach you and teach us, like, all right, look, this is what if you're getting involved in something, if you're selling anything, you selling food, make sure you have the right insurance in place in case somebody gets sick and die. Have coverage. And you think, I don't need that. Yeah, you do, because if something happens and someone files a lawsuit, it's over for you. And don't think, oh, I got a business and it's something called piercing the corporate veil. It's something where they can come after you. It's some instances they can come after you personally. They can come after your house, your car, your well-being. So it's just like, these things that we learn along the way, man. Shout out to Dame. I hope he comes back better from this. I would like to see him possibly do a bankruptcy and settle to pay this, but he probably ain't got the bread at the end of the day. Because look, here's how bankruptcy will look. If he would go chapter 7, right? This is almost like a chapter 7 for Dame. This is equivalent to a chapter 7 bankruptcy. Sell off all your assets, see what you can get, and pay them back, right? Then whatever is done after that, you discharge the rest. The court takes over. An 11 will be, all right, freeze. I filed a petition with the court, chapter 11. I'm going to give them my finance, give them what I make, comply with the court. I'm going to arrange an amicable payment plan to pay back my creditors, my $4 million creditor here, my $800,000 creditor here, my child support, whatever I got, a 5-year plan to pay that back while still maintaining control and not losing ownership over any of my entities, any of my businesses, any of my movies. However, that's only plausible if you have enough income to do so. 50 Cent was a perfect example of him filing for bankruptcy and him having the income to take care of that. He said, all right, look, boom, I'm not going to sell my companies. I'm not going to lose. I'm going to pay you back over an amount of time and be done with it. That's what a chapter 11 will look like for Dame Dash. So this tells me he possibly doesn't have type of, the first of all, to file it's like 20 bands to get that going. And then to pay back upwards of $5 to $6 million, which is a total of probably his debt around there, back over a period of 5 years. He might not have it. So he say, you know what I got, take it. I'll be done with it, whatever the case may be. Hopefully you get the 4 mil to 5 mil. If not, we'll work on the rest from there. So that's the part where it's like, damn. But hey, I wish the best. And if there's any more updates, I'll definitely have more updates, in the future for you guys. But leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. If you want to advertise on this channel, hit me up, OGOD@hiphopun.com. If you want to advertise, I said promoted this earlier, but if you want to advertise on the channel, you'll get your video right before the video that we do here on this channel. It's OGOD@hiphopun.com. Hit me up right now. Let's get it going. All right, let's talk about this.